Hi, everybody. Okay, so bear with me. It's my first time going live, so I don't even know if you can hear me. I don't know anything. It's my very first time doing a live on Crime Scene Collective and on YouTube. So, what are we following and what are we covering tonight? The Nancy Guthrie case. So, a lot of you may know that I was in Tucson, Arizona for about a week. I was there from about February 20th until about February 26th. I think I came home on the 27th or 26th. So, about a week I was over there and I was covering, just what was happening. I was trying to give the perspective for the audience and just to give everybody an idea of what it looked like. Yes, we see how it looks like from MSM, mainstream media, but, and I'm not bashing them at all. I have very high respect for mainstream media and what they do. They provide a lot of information for us as well. Plus, they're the ones that really can get the sources and they're the ones that can dive in and get those like really intricate information for us that we are not able to get, and we depend on them to give us those like inside details, and then we bounce off of that, and that's when we can spread it to our followers, and then we combust with all that information. So with that being said, so let me just remind myself. So I was there, just trying to network and meet with everybody and do my best. I was by myself. I drove 16 hours from Dallas to Tucson. Yeah, if you guys are going to map it, it says 12, 13 hours, but there were a few accidents. And obviously I got to stop and, take care of my bodily functions, right? And I got to get gas in the truck, right? So that's that. So I did upload what I could from TikTok. It takes a while. Like some of them are getting reported, thanks guys, and some of them are getting taken down, thanks guys. And I'm just doing the best I can. So like I said, this is my first time, and I've got to get this channel established before I can get things rolling to give everybody the updates that people are looking for. So I will start with today. Today is March 9th, 2026. So this tells us that we are, and I know I should know off the top of my head, but we are 38 days since Nancy Guthrie was reported missing, which means it is 39 days since anybody has seen Miss Nancy alive. So we are now 39 days since that January 3rd or January 31st, 2026 dinner that she had with her daughter and her daughter's significant other, which it's still very unclear. It's a very, mucky water there. If they got married, did they get married here in the United States? Did they get married in Italy? We don't know. Does it matter? Right now, I don't know. I really don't care. But that's who we know they had dinner with. From my understanding, I'm going to actually give some timestamps here. What we do know is at 5:32 p.m. on January 31st, so this is the day that everybody has, or, the people that saw Miss Nancy alive, this is the last day that they saw her alive on January 31st at 5:32 p.m. Miss Nancy takes an Uber to her daughter's house, Annie, which she lives 4 miles from her home. So from Nancy's home to her daughter Annie's home is 4 miles. She takes an Uber there to play games and have dinner. Now, is this something that is not normal? Is this kind of unnatural? Well, maybe in other areas of the country or maybe in other areas of the world, maybe, I'm not sure. But once I went to Tucson and I talked to people and I got an idea of what this area is like and what, like the surroundings and stuff like that, I learned that it is actually kind of natural. I mean, prior to going there, I was with you guys. I was like, hey, you know what? Is it really normal for a mom at 84 years old to be taking an Uber to their daughter's house to have dinner and play games if they're 4 miles away. Like, come on, why didn't said daughter come and pick up mom? But now that I was out there and I understand the terrain and what these roads are like and what this neighborhood is like and all that, well, I'm going to back off on that whole kind of statement because I understand it better. And I'm going to tell you guys that it kind of does make a little bit of sense for perhaps Nancy to be like, hey, if you guys aren't ready yet, and if you're still in the shower, or if you still have, you haven't picked out you still have ironing to do or whatnot. I don't know who else is over there. Don't worry about it. I'll take an Uber. I'll call a car. I'll find myself over there. Don't you guys worry about me. I mean, I find that now very, very natural and very normal. So this took time, though, for me to go there and understand the area versus me sitting behind my computer, behind my keyboard here, being a keyboard warrior and doing all that and saying, what mom is, or what daughter is making a mom take an Uber, da da da. I was one of them. Trust me. I even said it while I was there. I sat right next to a local and I was like, well, this doesn't make sense. And I was put right in my spot and I was told, hey, you don't know nothing yet. You just got here. And I was like, oh, you're right. I don't. And then I had to do my due diligence and find out more and more and more. And guess what? It led me to this conclusion. And again, this is all my opinion. I don't know nothing. Like, again, I'm just independent out here, just learning, just as y'all are learning. Like, we're all trying to put all this together as a collective, right? And I learned that in that area, it might not be atypical to call an Uber to pick your, mom or whoever up to go to a friend's house or to daughter's house or whatnot house if you're running late, or we don't know the whole story behind it, but it's not atypical. It's kind of seems to be a normal happenstance. And we're just, for me, for this time right now, I don't care about it. It doesn't bother me. I guess it's normal. So with that being said, next, so let's move on. I don't want to jump all over the place, but that just kind of came up. Normally, I will keep things very in order. So let's talk about this, what's happening right now. Like, today is the 9th, right? So like I said, it's 38 days since she was reported missing, 39 days since anybody has seen her, Miss Nancy, alive. And what do we have in the news? So everyone's talking about this scrambler, or this jammer that, now may have conflicted with everybody's Nest door camera, Ring door camera, blah, 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 all of that, right? Okay. I accept this information. I'm not saying I agree with it. I'm just saying I accept it. Now, with that being said, for those of you that have been following true crime for a little bit here and there was a case 2-3 years ago. Obviously, I don't know the date right here, but I'm going to say 2 years ago, perhaps, yeah, to Sebastian Rogers. I can look it up real quick, and I will, just because you guys are going to be like, I can't believe you don't know the exact date. But 2 years ago, Sebastian Rogers, I do know the exact date, February 26th. February 26th was the day he was reported missing, but February 25th was the last day he was seen alive, right? So let's look that up real quick. Sebastian Rogers. So now with his case, 2024, so 2 years ago, same thing. So with his case, there was kind of similarities here in the realm of about a month or so later, and I'm not part of the investigation. I'm not part of the law enforcement. I don't know what's happening in the police precinct or anything. I'm just going by what I can gather from sources and what's on the internet. And, I just grab here and there, and then I put everything together. So what I do know is about a month or so into the investigation with Sebastian Rogers, they were trying to pull the Ring cameras and Nest cameras from people's doorbells in the neighborhood as well for that case. And guess what? They ran into some kind of hiccups with that case as well, right? And so then they try to put pieces together, and what kind of conclusion did they come with? They came up with the same type of conclusion that somebody or whoever was trying to commit this crime or this act of abduction or this kidnapping used some sort of scrambler, and they had this item, and they just so with the Sebastian Rogers case, like we actually like I worked on it for I can't say I myself, but like I had a team and we all like kind of worked on it together, and we kind of put it together like this. Like this person had a scrambler like that, and there was a wide circumference for the whole neighborhood. So it's like it was a circle, so circumference. And if houses are normally square. So if your house ended up not meeting that circumference and you were on the square, you kind of may have not gotten hit by that scrambler, and maybe your video would have gotten captured. So does this add to the pattern? We don't know, because did anybody follow up and follow through with all that stuff? No, they didn't. They really didn't. And why? I have no idea, because again, there's still this 15-year-old boy, which he's now probably 17, right? He's still missing. He's still gone, and nobody knows where he is. So why nobody ever looked further into that and followed through on that? Maybe now they will, knowing that this is something used now more than once in a high profile case. Hey, let's hope so, right? So moving on, scrambler next. So profiles. Something that's really stuck out for me is that since day one, well, not day one, but we know that on February 11th, they released the first video image of the person that walked up to the house, front door of Nancy Guthrie's home, and with the hooded mask, the zip up backpack, the gun pointed at his, you know what I mean? And that gives us a person. Where's the profile? Why aren't we getting a full profile on this person? All they told us was 5'9", maybe 5'10". Like, that's all you got? Come on. Like, her house is literally built on bricks. It's brick on brick on brick. So why can't they count the bricks and throw one of those 7-Eleven, measurement tapes right up on there and be like, all right, guys, we got a better idea here. And then not only that, but we're going to profile this even more. We have a sketch artist. We're going to do that. We're going to give you a race. We're going to give you an eye, maybe a color. We're going to give you a little bit of this, a little bit of that, body build, body this, anything. I mean, they saw that he had hair growing on his mustache, right? So they could tell that what color hair he perhaps has. I mean, we saw some eyebrows. So again, that could like confirm that that's his like color of his hair. Something. They gave us nothing, right? All right. So let's move on further from that. Then now let's go with Nancy. So we know that she was taken from her sleep at between 1:47 and, all right, so 1:47 is when doorbell was disconnected, but then, like 2:28, pacemaker, all that. So like there's all this stuff happening. So, all right, regardless, it's in the, early hours of the morning. So chances are pretty certain Miss Nancy was sleeping, right? So why aren't they asking the family or anybody super close to Nancy, what does she sleep in? Does she sleep in a nightgown? Does she sleep in a pants and a button-up nightgown? Does she sleep naked? What does this woman sleep in? So people know what to look for, what articles of clothing to look for. What's her favorite color? Does her clothes typically reflect pinks, blacks, blues, purples, anything? They gave us nothing. And then we find out that perhaps her bed sheet was taken with her. What color is her bed sheets? Nobody knows because they don't tell us anything. There's no profiles on anything. And then we find out just recently that she wears very like hefty hearing aids that she takes off at night. So, does that tell us that those were left on her nightstand? So, why aren't like I think that's a big key piece of evidence to tell us her ear her her hearing aids are not she doesn't have them. So she can't hear jack nothing. She ain't going to hear you even if you say, "Nancy, I'm over here looking for you." She's not going to hear you. You got to be like flash a light, you got to do some whoo something because she's not going to hear you by voice because she doesn't have her big old ear hearing aids in. Next, she wears I guess she has a thick, hi, Mark. Thank you for joining. She has a heavy script. Her glasses, from what I understand, again, don't quote me, but this is what I'm hearing now as of today. Her glasses were still there. So she can't see, right? Unless she had LASIK. I don't know. I don't know nothing about her. But if if her glasses were there, then did they blindfold her? Did they, so are we dealing with what's going on here? But this is all left for us to guess and us to like figure out and why because they're not telling us. And why? Well, here's another cool piece of information which I think is fascinating. The law enforcement in Pima County is under a precinct gag order. Did anybody know about that? A precinct gag order? Well, I thought only judges could order those out or hand those out. But no, apparently everybody has been told over there, don't say a word. You guys are gagged. Shut up. Don't say nothing. Like zip it. All right, so there's that. Then we know, and I'm not stealing information from any other creators. I watched the interview room with Chris McDonough and his beautiful wife Karen, and they are just an abundance of information. So I was just, I like to bounce off what I know to make sure that that what I know is not I'm not going down the wrong path kind of stuff. So I'm just referring off of things that they mentioned, and I'm going to confirm it with what I did know. So other things that they mentioned and what we already did know, there were 6 points of entry or more, right? So still to this day, we don't know how anybody got in or out. We just know there's 6 points of entry or more, meaning there's the garage, there's a couple sliders, there's the front door, there's 2 back doors, and what else? So we still don't know the ins and outs. We know the camera in the front got smashed, but is that really the point of entry? What's the point of exit? The back door where we saw the slider open? Why aren't they telling us that either? Shouldn't anybody know that so the neighbors could know where to look for their cameras that were or were not scrambled? Like, why is everything so confusing? Why not just give the information, right? That's that. There's more. Okay. The mat. And again, I don't mean to be all over the place. The mat at the front step. Okay. Let's just back up here a little bit and let me take a drink of my water. Okay. So what do we know about this front mat? Like the front little carpet, at her front step. So here we have a couple different theories on this. So what we do know is that this front mat is right outside her front door, and off to the right of it are blood droplets, and then one, like maybe somebody sneezed or coughed, there's some splatter, but then there's some droplets that look to be like from 3 to 4 feet down. And that's to the right of this mat, and the door does open to the right, right? And then we also know that when this guy that came to the front door, he grabbed some dry flowers to his left, so this side. So he came over on this side and grabbed some dry flowers, and then he went over here to the camera and he like kind of did whatever. So he went from that side over here and that. So those were in front of the step. And then we know that blood was carried out, or a person was carried out. Maybe she hit her head, we don't know, and blood droplets were left. Now, what a lot of people have a problem with, or not a problem with, or questions with, is how those dried flowers got on top of the blood droplets. So it is very windy there. Like it is. It's very dry, but that wind, the gust comes through, and we do know that was a dry. It was a dry kind of flower, and there was only little specks that were on top of the blood. And this goes right back to where some people say maybe she never was dropped back off at home on the 31st. And this is where I want to say, but this also goes to show us that she most likely was, because that's how fresh I feel those droplets were. I feel like they were that wet and fresh, like wet, like, moisture liquid, that the dryness of the flowers, when they blew over, they got stuck on the wetness of the blood. Does that make sense? I forget that I'm live and like nobody can cut me off. Nobody. Like I keep waiting for somebody to be like, all right, Alina, you're done. Nobody can cut me off. This is fantastic. The floor is mine. All right, so that's why I think the droplets or the dry flowers were on top of the blood, is because just wind or whatever. I do have a very good source. Hi, Patriot Odie3745. Thank you for joining. I do have a very reliable source that told me there was also blood in the threshold. So when they opened the door, in the threshold of the door, there's blood in there too. And maybe, I can't confirm 100%, but leading up to the door before they walked outside. But in the threshold, there was blood there too. So there's that, okay? So, now, so where I started with this was the mat. Why didn't they take that mat if we know that there's fresh blood on there? I don't know. I mean, if anybody has the right answer to this, I'd love to know. I honestly have no idea why, like truly no idea. But things that do kind of, other things that keep me like very like WTF from that day, the first day, and that is February 1st, is, let's go back. This is the timeline I wrote down, but let's go back on just the timeline in my head. Sheriff Nanos was called in to the Guthrie residence on Nancy's home that, their mom is missing and all of those, details. When Nanos walked inside that home, whatever he saw, he assessed the situation and he looked around. He went to this room, he went to that room, he went here, he went there. And then he took a step back and he, looked at his team that was with him and he said, guys, we got to call the homicide unit. And I don't know what happens at that point, because obviously I'm not a police officer. I'm not, none of that. But homicide unit was called in. So whatever they saw and whatever they assessed and Nanos assessed, and I've got nothing negative to say about Sheriff Nanos at all. Please understand that. I don't know what it's like to be in his position. I did not take that training. I have not a leg to stand on. Trust me. Honestly, like I don't even have two legs to stand on. But I'm just curious, what did he see when he walked in there and went through the residence to make him then say, I need to call the homicide unit in, because I think that is very detrimental to this whole story and this whole case, and the big picture on what we all need to be looking at here. And the other thing that I think a lot of us, well, I don't think a lot of us are forgetting, I just think that they wanted us to forget, is day one, which is also February 1st, that Sunday, they mentioned twine. Twine as in the rope. So, like, here they said they got a call in homicide unit. They see, evidence of a break-in, a struggle, and twine. Twine. That's pretty unique. In my world, that's very unique. Like, and I've covered several cases, but followed, holy cow, so many cases, like, in for decades, like, through and through. Like, if you saw my bookshelves, you would see how intricate. I have read every single thing. Like, I read and I go through and then I go through again. If that book doesn't satisfy me, I would get the next one. Like, this is before, the internet and all that. Like, I would go and go and go. So twine, I could not forget about that, because nowadays, typically, kidnappers or burglars or robberies or whatnot, they use zip ties. Twine is kind of like unique to farmers, or like, I don't know, just twine. I don't know. It's just such a different kind of method of attack, right? So, and twine is very hard. I mean, I can grab some in the garage right now. Twine is a very rough mechanism as well. I mean, to be honest with you, first thing I thought of was, did they tire? Did they hog tire? And knowing just from the pictures that we've seen of her, she's very Miss Nancy has very thin skin. She's older, 84. Probably on blood thinners. So if they used twine, that could have cut her like that. So homicide, maybe it was called in. I don't know. I'm not judging, but I don't know. I don't know. But twine, and what did he see to give him, like, to have him reference twine? Was it the shavings of twine? Did he have a piece of the twine left there? All of that. Like, what? Why aren't you telling us? All right, so that's that. I'm going to keep going, but let me check my text messages real quick. All right, so I don't know if anybody can see me or not. Some people are saying they can't find me, but that's okay. All right, let's just keep going. Let's go back to the timeline. All right, so I wanted to go over the jammer, like the scrambler, the mat in front of the house, right? And now let's go over the timeline. All right, so 5:32, we know that Miss Nancy called an Uber to go to her daughter Annie's house. And okay, thank you for letting me know that you can see me. I appreciate it, Mr. Shark Man. All right, so 5:32, we know that she went to play the games and to dinner, right? Now, this is where, and I'm getting this timeline from the sheriff, and this is where it went up and down. Please know, I'm not saying anything negative on the sheriff. I'm just going by his timeline. 9:48, we know that Miss Nancy was dropped off initially by the sheriff. He says that she was dropped off by her family, and he said by her daughter and her daughter's significant other. I'm not quite sure what he named Tommaso as, but he did say it was by Annie and her significant other or husband, boyfriend, whichever. Then says only by the son-in-law or significant other. Then he changes it and says she was only dropped off by the son-in-law at 9:48. Then FBI comes in and kind of reassesses this whole conversation and whatnot and says, well, let's just stick it to saying Miss Nancy was dropped off by family at 9:48 and then the garage closed at 9:50. Done. We're not revisiting that terminology again. We're just saying family did it or dropped her off. 9:48 garage open, 9:50 it closed. Who dropped her off? Family. Are we clear? We're clear. And FBI, this, that, everybody is clear on how that's done, right? So garage is open for 2 minutes. 1:47 a.m. So now we're on February 1st. This is where it kind of gets tricky, that the doorbell disconnects. All right. 1:47 a.m. doorbell disconnects. Okay. And they're saying that because it got disconnected from the nest, like, Big Papa, Big Brother at Nest headquarters, there's no metadata. Remember this, because I'm going to speak to this in a second, because I'm gonna prove otherwise with evidence. All right. Okay. I know it gives 24 hours. All right. Then it says 12 a.m. person is seen on camera. Oh, but didn't you just say at 1:47 that doorbell camera was disconnected, and literally saying it gave no meta data? But then all of a sudden we're getting subsequent information that at 12 a.m. the person is seen on the camera. This is the masked person now with the heavy backpack and the gun pointed at his, bits and pieces, nuts and crackers. Something that didn't matter to him very much that day. Something that hasn't produced nothing. All right, so now that's 12. But again, they're saying it was never sent to the cloud. So I don't know where they're getting this information, right? Never sent. And now 12:28 a.m., now February 1st, again, Miss Nancy Guthrie's pacemaker is disconnected from her Apple Watch. That's all we're being told. Pretty vague. We're not being told a lot here, but all we're being told is it's being disconnected from her Apple Watch. Not that there was a massive spike in her heart and therefore the pacemaker had to kick in, and then there was a disconnect and we couldn't read it anymore. We're not told any of that stuff. But am I telling you something there? Probably, so listen to it. Because all that other stuff that we've been told by law enforcement is very vague. So now, that last information I gave you was at 2:28 a.m. about the disconnect with the pacemaker and Apple Watch. Next bit of information we're being told is at 11 a.m. in the morning. So still February 1st, but now it's, 11 a.m. So this is when the church broadcast typically begins, right? And then we have a little bit of a gap. And then we're being told that around 11:08 or something, the friend of Nancy's that she was supposed to go to her house says, she's not here. Something's wrong, right? That's the original story, but then it changes very fast. And then it says, but around 11:50, well, which is it? 11:08 or 11:50? Because that's 45 minutes, guys. And in 45 minutes, a lot can happen. But all right. So now we're being told family went around 11 to Miss Nancy's home because friends said she wasn't showing up for this broadcast. But then they said, but no, we weren't there until like 11:50. So again, is that 45-minute gap, actually 50-minute gap, right? And then they said they were there at 11:53, I think, or something like that, or 11:55. That's the time that the family actually got to Miss Nancy's house to have a look about to see where she might be. And they that's when they saw perhaps the blood or a mess. And then the 911 call was placed at 12:03 p.m. So 8 minutes, according to this timeline, after the family finally, you know, like secures their timeline on what time were you at your mom's house? Okay, well, I was there 11:50, 11:50, 11:55. So 11:55, they secure it. 8 minutes later at 12:03, they call 911 saying something's wrong, right? I'm not blaming anybody here. I'm just giving fact. I'm just sharing with you what I know, right? And then again, I mentioned what we know is 6 points of entry, but there could be more. So again, 2 sliders, the garage, front door, 2 back doors, and I still think there's 2 other ones we don't know. And then the sheriff says that one of those points of entries were left open, but he's not telling us which one. He's just saying one of those points of entries were left open. So why isn't he telling us which one? Like, again, is this all just for us to kind of, are we all playing a game of chess, or what are we doing here? Like, what's happening? At the end of the day, there's somebody's mom, grandmother, sister, every aunt. I mean, I know Nancy's parents are probably not with us anymore, but she's still somebody's daughter. She's not with us. And where is she? And not only that, again, on top of that, the community, don't they want answers? Does anybody want answers? Is anybody curious what's happening here? Because I know I am, and I'm 900 miles away. And I want to know what's going on. Like, are people snatching up old folks from homes because their daughter might be in the news? I mean, is that what this is about? Because I don't think that's what it's about. Is that what you guys think it's about? I don't. I really don't. Here's the other thing. Okay. I have to pull up this picture, but I'm going to show you something else. So on the Nest camera, this is something that's been bothering me a lot. I have to find the picture, so just give me 1 second. We know that they did not have the subscription, right? Okay. Sorry, I forget that I'm live. But what I want to show you is, I'm going to try to explain this the best way that I could. I have a Nest camera as well. And so I disconnected everything so I can give you guys a true story on this. And even if you don't have a subscription, the Nest will show you if a person is standing in front of your doorway, no matter what, and they will show you that footage for a minimum of 24 to 48 hours for your own security. So can you guys see that? See that person in that picture? And it says, your camera noticed some activity. And then you can see right there a figure. Well, that's me walking away, and I'm pretty far, right? But in the picture that we have from Nancy's home, that person is pretty up there, right? So I did this for this live, okay? So this will be captured and I can screen grab this off my phone for the next 2 days. And okay, so this is what I want to say. For the people that saw the still picture that was released of the person with the mask and the same, zip up and all that, but without the backpack and without the gun pointed at his dick, that picture is from the night before. And that's why they were able to grab it, in my opinion, because again, 24 to 48 hours, right? This guy came and kind of scoped it out and was like, looks good to me. I'm going to give it a go, right? But why was he so confident that no family was receiving one of these? How? That helped me wrap my mind around that. How did he know that the night before the family was not going to see that and then be like, oh, wake up and see those notifications and be like, mom, look, somebody was looking around at your door and they have a mask on and this doesn't look safe. We're going to get some added security around your house just for now, just in case, for whatever reason. So the following night, when masked man shows up, when he shows up, everybody's going to be like, hey, surprise, buddy, we've been waiting for you. But for whatever reason, this person knew that whoever was receiving, this is my opinion. Again, this is just my opinion. In my opinion, I feel like this person knew that whoever was receiving these messages knew that they weren't receiving them and they weren't getting to anywhere for any alarm reasons and they were safe. And what does that mean to me? That if the circle was that big and now it's going to be this big and that big and now it's getting smaller and smaller and smaller because who had access to her phone to get those notifications? Not the plumber, not the landscaper, not the person that was maintaining her pool for no reason, even though nobody's swimming in it. They didn't have her Nest notifications. That's what I mean by the circle getting smaller and smaller and smaller. Who? Who had these Nest notifications and knew she wasn't going to see it? That's what people need to be looking into. That's where my mind is. But, whatever. So that's that. I think that's all I have for tonight. I hope this was all right, and I will see you guys tomorrow. I will have more to bring you tomorrow after we see what developments Tucson brings us during the day. Thank you for joining. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like us, subscribe once we have a subscription. Follow us. We're on all platforms, YouTube, X, Facebook, TikTok, all of it. Here we are, and we're doing it. Thank you guys. Good night.